Hey, welcome back. We got our 1 hour boil done. We got most of our hop additions added with uh, per instructions. I did right at the beginning of the 1 hour boil. I added the Horizon hops, half of a 1 ounce, which is half an ounce, according to my math. And then in 30 minutes, I added the other half, which is going to add a little bit of bittering to it, right? But you don't want to bitter it a whole lot, especially in IPA. IPAs are a little bit finicky. You gotta treat an IPA with kid gloves. Now that it's set at 45 minutes, well, 15 minutes before the boil is over, add Chinook hops. I did that. I sure did. But okay, let me tell you a little bit something. Okay, on the flame out, they wanted me to add the citrus hops. Okay. To me, and some other things that I've studied, I'm a student. I'm constantly learning things. I research. I don't know everything, but I am a student. And this is what I've gathered. You don't add hops on flame out. I mean, why? I mean, it says, yeah, add citrus hops to flame out. It'll add aroma. It'll add, flavor. Okay, at flame out, when you turn your fire off, your brew pot is still at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not a flame out. That is. I mean, yeah, you're turning your heat off, but your wort is still at 212 degrees. Now, to me, I'm just a dumb hillbilly. But my conjugal thinking would be, okay, if you want aroma, why would you add another hop addition when it's still at boil temperature? You're still going to release all the daggum oils from the hops, which is going to make it more bitter. I mean, all you're doing, if you're doing a flame out hop addition, you're adding more bitters, and it's going to make your beer bitter. You're not going to get no aroma. You're not going to get no flavor from the hops. So, what I'm doing, I'm cooling my wort, so I can put it in my fermenting bucket. And I'm getting it down under about, 120, 110, 100 degrees before I add my flame out hops. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can add the aroma, not the bittering oils that you would get from a 212 degrees, at flame out. It just boggles my mind why people say that. I mean, recipes call for that. I've had chemistry, I've had physics, I've had biology in high school, and I mean, I might be a hillbilly, but I'm not that dumb. To me, I mean, if you're gonna add aroma hops, add it where your temperature is way below yeast pitching temperature. It's still hot where it can release some of the oils, but not all the bittering. I mean, I don't give a crap if you use Chinook, Citra, Cascade. I don't care what hop you use. Any hop can be used for aroma. And any hop can be used for your bittering hops. And the in between, like say at your 30-minute boil, that adds just a little bit of bittering, but and it also adds a little bit of flavor and aroma. But your last aroma hop, where it says a flame out, that just don't make no little bit of sense, does it? I mean, honestly. Because you turn your fire off, boom, whoop-de-doo, you're still at 212 degrees. Let the sun of the gun cool down to about 150 degrees. Then add your aroma hops. Because that will not, the temperature will not impart all the bitterness, because you've already got bitterness at the beginning of your boil from my horizon hops. You've already got that bitterness. You've already got your bitter hops. 30 minutes I started my aroma flavor hops. But now, I hate beating a dead horse, but why in the world would you add your aroma hops when it's 212 degrees? Because you're still going to release all those oils from the hops that's going to add more bitterness. And at the end of the day, when your fermenting is done and everything, you're not going to have a flavorful or aromatic beer, because everything is bittered. I mean, all you got is 5 gallons of bittered beer. Who wants that? I mean, and then you got to go back and start back sweetening or dry hop with something else, and you figure, you wonder, well, why does that taste so daggum bitter? That is why you add every recipe that I've ever come across always says add your aroma hops at flame out. But again, flame out's still 212 degrees. You're still going to release all the tannins and the bittering agents of your hops. It defeats the purpose, if you ask me. So I am now down to 140 degrees, 130 degrees, and I'm adding my citra hops. This is my flame out hops for my aroma and flavor. Well, I am down to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to add these, and I will stir them about with my spoon of gigantic proportions, and I will let that set until I get down to yeast pitching temperature. I still gotta add water and whatnot, ice, let this get down. But while we're waiting on that brings me to another, what do you call it? Pet peeve? No, not a pet. I don't know what you call it, pet peeve. I hate people that talk to the side of their mouth. I'm gonna scoot back just a little bit. Now I'm gonna talk about meads and yeast while this is cooling down. I got a real bad taste in my mouth. Honey, once you open that door, anyway, honey. I use raw, unfiltered honey in my meads, which is what you want to use, because anything else has got preservatives and all kinds of other crap in it that you don't want. Honey by its raw, unfiltered honey by itself, say 3 pounds of raw, unadulterated honey, does not have enough fermentable sugars to garner 13, 15, 17% alcohol by volume. That's just not gonna happen. Now I'm kind of angry, right? I watched somebody. I'm not gonna mention no names, but I got a real problem with that. I got a real problem with math. Sugar has by itself, in water, has by itself a 1.046 original gravity. Honey, by itself, with water, we're gonna say a gallon, has a 1.035 original starting gravity. Water, by itself, pure unadulterated water out of your tap faucet, is 1.0000, which is a neutral buoyant, neutral density. That's where all your gravities with your sugars comes from. It's from water. It's from 1.0000 and 0 to infinity. And that's the density of water. Now you start adding sugar, that's when your gravity or your density of your water starts increasing. Like I said, sugar has 1.046 gravity density. Honey has 1.035 density. I got a real problem. This person, he does math in his head. He makes he makes needs, and the starting gravity is really high, but most of it is sweetness, and he only uses a half a pack of yeast. Now to me, if you got an ingredient that takes a heck of a lot to ferment, such as honey, for a mead, you're looking at, 1.035 gravity. Okay, you take half of that for fermentables, that's going to bring it down to a 1.0, half of 35 would be a 1.017, which is, and if you use a half a pack of, say, Lavlin wine yeast B71, which is 13 to 15% alcohol by volume at the end of fermentation, but your honey is only half of that. You have to have the ABV of your yeast, so you're looking just right off the bat. You're looking at 7% alcohol, and that's just on the high end. And you start adding more sweetener, or add fruit or something like a melomel, you're gonna increase your original gravity, but the gravity is only gonna register the sweetness. That does not include the fermentables. Strawberries do not and care very much fermentables. So, I mean, if you're looking at half of an ABV just right off the start of the bat with this honey, and you use half a pack of yeast, you're looking at 3.8 to a 7 point ABV. People that do this crap in their head trying to make it look good for people that really don't know, but people like us that's been doing this a while can't fool. I mean, how in the hell are you going to get 15% ABV out of 3 pounds of honey and say 3/4, 2/3 of a gallon of apple juice, say for a sizer? How in the world are you going to expect 15%? There is no way to do it. Not with honey that can only produce half of your fermentables, and you're using half of a package of yeast. I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that somebody's pulling your leg. I've done figured this out a while back watching this guy. He just draws numbers out of his head thinking he's doing algebra in his head. I do a little bit of algebra in my head. I mean, yeah, I studied in school. I mean, I'm pretty smart, but I'm a hillbilly. But even I can't even calculate all that. I mean, I have to write it down on paper or use my calculator. You can't do that in your head. You can't take 1.070 starting gravity because you got so much sweetener in your brew, and then try to back calculate to what the ABV is going. Oh yeah, it's going to be 15%. I guarantee you. Well, I guarantee you it ain't, because if you do the math, and I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. I just get angry summertime about people trying to pull my leg, pull the wool over my eyes. It's just not gonna happen. Especially using bread yeast that this fella uses most of the time. Bread yeast is not gonna give you 50% ABV every time. It will on plain apple juice when you make a hard cider. I've done it. I've used Fleischmann's, a full packet of Fleischmann's bread yeast, but I've let it sit for 3 weeks. And then I pulled it off the lees and let it sit another couple of weeks. Yeah, it come out about what was it? It was 13 something ABV. I mean, oh my God, that's my mom. She got looped. But no, that's my little rant for right now while I'm waiting for this to cool down. Oh, it's coming down. I might add a little bit more ice, and we'll be right back when this cools down. And we're gonna go ahead and put it in my bucket, my ferment bucket, and we'll add some real yeast, and we'll take a reading on it and see where we're at. This recipe that I got from Steve's Brew Shop in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It says there's a starting gravity of a 1.067 to a 1.067 original gravity. And here's the ingredients on the grains that I use is a 9 ounces of Carapils malt, 8 ounces of Caraviana malt, and the rest of it is 6 pounds of pale ale dry malt extract, 1 pound of wheat dry malt extract, 1 pound of Pilsen dry malt extract, 1 ounce of rising hops, 1 ounce of Amarillo, 1 ounce of Citra, and 1 ounce of Simcoe. The Simcoe calls for, after I rack it to my secondary, for dry hopping. And my yeast is a 1 packet of Safale 5-33 yeast. We'll be right back when I start racking this into my fermenter.